These are 8 times UFC champions failed to become double champions.
He's not somebody you should be taking a short notice with.
Sucks, man. Sucks to have it stolen from you.
You can see a few bruises, but I didn't take that much damage as for last opponent.
With Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria chasing double champ status, the spotlight is back on 2-division dominance. But history shows that it's no easy feat, and if Islam and Ilia are not careful, they could end up like the following 8 fighters who fell short in their attempt to become double champs. The latest fighter to chase double champ status was Alex Volkanovski, who gave it 2 tries, but both times his opponent Islam Makhachev was just too good for him. Volkanovski first went for double champ status at UFC 284 when he faced Islam for the lightweight belt. At that time, Volk was ruling the featherweight division and the pound-for-pound rankings with 5 title defenses.
The lightweight on the line, pound for pound number 1 on the line. Let's do it.
Volkanovski knew beating Islam specifically to become a double champ was going to be a massive milestone in his career.
All respect to Islam, to take the belt off him, it's going to be an incredible feat. So I hope people realise what I'm trying to do, and when I do it, I can't wait.
Makhachev didn't take Volkanovski too seriously. He doubted Volk's wrestling and he didn't think he'd have much of a shot at lightweight.
Islam, a lot has been made of what this win would mean if Alex got it. I'm curious, you know how good you are. If he beats you this weekend, could he be considered the greatest of all time?
It's not possible, because I am the champion and we fight 150 fight. This is not his area, this is other power, other division. I'm gonna beat him easy.
Volkanovski was eager to step in and show Makhachev that Australian wrestling is no joke.
He's pushing a narrative that there's no wrestling in Australia, that that I won't be able to feel the power and all that type of stuff. I am the underdog, but I love people doubting me. I prove them wrong all the time, and I plan on doing that on Sunday.
Inside the cage, Volk pushed Makhachev to his limit. He stuffed takedowns, defended smartly on the ground, and kept fighting his heart out. Most of the fight played out on the feet, which was Volk's supposed comfort zone, but Makhachev held his own and even outstruck him at times. Volk's biggest moment of the fight came in round 5 when he dropped Makhachev with a big right hand, but Makhachev's calm under pressure saw him through and earned him the decision win. Makhachev had nothing but nice things to say about Volk.
I know my skills. That's why I try to knock him out, but this guy is so strong. I landed many good punches, many good knees, but he still fighting, I give him like big cut, but this guy is a real champion.
As for Volkanovski, he admitted to underestimating Makhachev's striking and was surprised by how sharp and effective that it was.
You said you underestimated his striking, maybe. What exactly?
Nah, not really. Obviously I knew he's got a good eye. His eye's not too bad. He's got a good eye. His distance isn't too bad. Again, I could have capitalised more, man. Even in the... I guess I was just expecting him to be a bit more relentless in the shots.
Since the fight was super close, Alex wanted an immediate rematch, and the stars aligned when Charles Oliveira pulled out of UFC 294, giving Volk a second shot at double champ status. But what seemed like a golden opportunity would soon turn into the biggest mistake of his career. Despite jumping in on just 12 days notice, Volk was confident that he could fix the mistakes from their first fight and put Makhachev to sleep.
This being short notice, and me... it's going to be an exciting one too. So obviously I want to go out there and I want to hurt him, and we'll try and make sure it doesn't go 5 rounds. I want to finish it early.
Makhachev was also planning a brutal knockout and one that could close the Volk chapter for good.
Last time I beat him 4 rounds, just last round he won. I just give him chance to last minute. But this fight, everything is going to change. I want to finish him and finish all this talk about this fight.
When they stepped into the cage at UFC 294, Makhachev looked focused as he trapped Volk with body kicks before landing a head kick that knocked Volkanovski out cold in 3 minutes and 6 seconds of the first round. Volkanovski later admitted that fighting Makhachev on short notice was a terrible idea.
I don't want to sit there and obviously make excuses, you know what I mean? So, I could have made better decisions but, again, he's not somebody you should be taking a short notice with, but
Volkanovski was naturally heartbroken after falling short twice in his bid for double champ glory, but it was his teammate Israel Adesanya who would take one of the most brutal humblings the fight game has ever seen. Israel Adesanya joined the UFC in February 2018, and by September 2020, he was the company's biggest star with an undefeated status and 9 wins, including a middleweight title win and 2 title defenses. Adesanya's hype was so high that he was already dreaming of a super fight with Jon Jones, who Adesanya thought was jealous of his success.
Like I said, he needs me. I've said this before, he's jealous. He saw this young black guy, this freshman, come up and do all the things he wished he could have done. And when I said that earlier on, like on one of your shows, people were like, he's jealous of you? I'm like, bro, you guys don't understand.
The UFC had been eyeing that Jon Jones versus Adesanya super fight for a while, but by the time Izzy was finally ready to chase gold at light heavyweight, Jones had already vacated the belt to move up to heavyweight, and Jan Blachowicz was the new champ. However, the UFC knew that if Adesanya won the 205 title, it might tempt Jones back, so they booked Izzy versus Blachowicz for UFC 259. Heading into the fight, Adesanya had no doubt that he was going to be a double champ.
It's a very elite, exclusive club, and I'm going to be the 5th one to join that club.
In fact, Adesanya was so full of confidence that he claimed Blachowicz wouldn't even be able to touch him.
Again, this is what I do. I make it look easy. So I plan on doing that again come Saturday. Not getting touched like I did in the Costa fight. I didn't get touched in the Costa fight, but like I did in the Costa fight, because I didn't let him touch me in the face at all. So yeah, make sure don't get hit and watch out for that body kick.
Blachowicz wasn't buying into the Izzy hype, and he promised to hand Adesanya his first career loss.
I will be the first one who beat him in MMA, so it's gonna be a small bonus for me, something what he never forget in his life.
Once the cage door closed, Blachowicz went to work, attacking Izzy with low kicks, mixing in high kicks, and using well-timed takedowns to control the fight. After 5 rounds, Jan had completely derailed Adesanya's hype train with scores of 49-46, 49-45, and 49-45. Adesanya was humble in defeat.
I'm not like, heartbroken. I hate losing, don't get me wrong, but I'm not like, oh my God, he really embarrassed me, like that was it. This is the dip in my story, you know what I mean? This is the bit where, the valley, if you will, and then I rise up again like the phoenix that I am.
The loss hit Adesanya hard as he lost 4 of his next 8 fights, but it still wasn't as brutal as what happened to Max Holloway, who moved up a division to chase double champ glory and ended up taking career-altering brain damage. When Max Holloway moved up to lightweight to fight Dustin Poirier for the interim lightweight belt, he was riding a 13-fight winning streak with the featherweight title and 2 title defenses. He wasn't just winning, but hurting his opponents with hundreds of significant strikes each fight, and his battle against Dustin was his chance to prove he could do the same to lightweights, especially champ Khabib.
You'd have to win the unified title to really be considered a true double champ.
Look, Khabib said he wanted to fight me, but he wanted me to prove myself. And I got Dustin, and April 13, I decided to prove myself. I'm going to go out there and prove myself, and when he's ready to come back, I'll be ready.
Not only was Max Holloway looking to prove himself at lightweight and become a double champ, he was also eyeing the #1 spot in the pound-for-pound rankings, and he knew a dominant win over Poirier was the only way to achieve it.
When I think of the #1 pound-for-pound guy, I think of dominance. I think of someone just dominating, and that's what I want to do.
Max had every reason to fight with heart, but Dustin felt the stakes were even higher for him since he had been working hard for years to earn a shot at UFC gold, and there was no way he was letting that dream get shattered.
I do have a lot of respect for Max. He's a great champion, a good guy, but I've been working too hard and worked through too much and sacrificed and overcome so many things that tomorrow night I just can't let him have it. This is my night. There's no love in there.
On fight night, it was an all-out war as both guys landed around 180 significant strikes, but Poirier's punches had more heat and his power made the difference, earning him a clear decision win. Holloway was bruised and battered, but his spirit wasn't broken as he promised to bounce back stronger than ever. While Max Holloway handled both the lead-up and aftermath of his double champ attempt with class, TJ Dillashaw acted the complete opposite when he dropped a weight class in an attempt for a second belt, but his cocky attitude would practically end his career. TJ Dillashaw was riding high after knocking out Cody Garbrandt in 2017 to reclaim the bantamweight's throne. With 2 title reigns under his belt, TJ set his sights on flyweight gold to join the exclusive double champ club. Originally, TJ wanted a super fight with the legendary Demetrius Johnson, but after Henry Cejudo shocked the world and dethroned the GOAT, TJ had to go through him instead at UFC Brooklyn in 2019. And since Dillashaw had the bigger resume at that point, he walked into the fight full of confidence that was maybe a little bit too much.
He hasn't dealt with my movement. He hasn't dealt with me mixing it up. I'm going to knock out Henry Cejudo. I'll take that belt. He's been begging me to take that belt off his shoulder. It's too much weight for him. You know, that gold medal's light. This UFC belt's got a lot more weight to it. I'm going to take it right off his shoulder.
I don't know if you can see Henry, TJ, but he's wearing a snakeskin jacket. Did you see that jacket? If so, what do you make of it?
I did. The last guy tried to wear a snakeskin suit, got his ass split. So it's his turn next.
The biggest concern on paper for TJ going into the fight was Cejudo's Olympic-level wrestling, but Dillashaw dismissed the threat, thinking MMA was a different game and he'd handle it just fine.
There's no question that Henry Cejudo is a phenomenal wrestler, obviously an Olympic gold medalist. But in terms of MMA wrestling, how do you think you match up with him?
Better. You know, it's a whole nother sport.
Cejudo respected Dillashaw's ambition as he knew chasing double champ status was no joke, but he also made it clear that TJ's dream wasn't coming true on his watch.
I think what TJ's trying to do too, I think is very admirable. I think what he's trying to do is something that's never been done. Champions go up and win belts. Champions don't come down and win belts. What he's trying to do, and that, in my opinion, if he was to do something like that, that would have put him pound for pound the best fighter in the world. The problem is he's fighting me.
On fight night, Cejudo let his hands do the talking, rocking Dillashaw early and stopping him with a TKO in just over 32 seconds into round 1. Dillashaw was furious afterwards, saying the ref stepped in too early and robbed him of a chance to recover.
Sucks, man. Sucks to have it stolen from you. You know, I worked my butt off. So much better than that, and it'd be nice to actually get the chance to show it.
Dillashaw's complaints quickly turned into apologies when he soon after tested positive for EPO and got hit with a 2-year suspension. He made a brief comeback, picking up 1 win and 1 loss, but he wasn't the same, just like Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who went after the double champ status at the worst time of her career and suffered a brutal beating. At one point in her career, Joanna Jędrzejczyk was regarded as the greatest strawweight of all time. She was undefeated with 14 wins and 5 title defenses, but a couple of losses to Rose Namajunas badly shook her confidence. Hoping to regain her lost glory, Joanna Jędrzejczyk moved up to flyweight at UFC 231 for a shot at the vacant title against Valentina Shevchenko, who had already beaten her 3 times in kickboxing. Despite that, Joanna was feeling stronger than ever heading into the fight.
10 pounds makes a big difference, and I'm stronger, I'm faster, I'm more my punches are more precise when I'm weighing the 125 and up and higher, so it's going to be power and speed in one time, you know, from both sides.
For Joanna, a win meant that she would solidify her legacy as the GOAT of women's MMA.
If you win on Saturday night, you'll be a 2-weight champion in the UFC. What will that mean for your legacy here?
There is no if. After my victory on Saturday, I will prove that I'm the GOAT of women's MMA.
As for Valentina, she wasn't worried as she had already beaten Joanna 3 times in kickboxing and was familiar with her style.
One thing when you are faced someone who you don't know the power, the speed and the rest. I know what to expect from Joanna. I know her power, I know her speed. I'm not only excited to have such professional opponent like Joanna, but I'm excited to fight. This is what I want, to fight and never stop.
On fight night, Valentina refused to stop as she took the fight to the ground on regular intervals and completely neutralized Joanna's striking game to secure a comfortable decision victory and ruin Jędrzejczyk's dream of becoming a double champ. Even though the loss hurt, Joanna found consolation in the fact that at least she didn't get dominated like Valentina's last opponent.
It took a while for me to get out from the bottom position because she was very clever and like using smart her hands to block me, but you can see a few bruises, but I didn't take that much damage as her last opponent from her ground and pound.
Going for double champ status in your prime is impressive, but doing it late in your career is never a good idea, and Jose Aldo was about to find that out the hard way. For years, Jose Aldo ruled the featherweight division like a worthy king, but after his loss to Conor McGregor, his confidence was clearly impacted, and that's resulted in a mixture of wins and losses. In an attempt to change things around, Aldo made a move down to bantamweight and received a title shot in only his second fight in his new division at UFC 251. Aldo's opponent was Petr Yan, the ruthless Russian who had been destroying everybody in the division and was fully confident he'd do the same to Aldo.
He's still very dangerous. Obviously, he's very famous and legend of the sport. So it's going to be a very interesting fight. I think the fight will go to the 4th or the 5th round. And I hope I'm going to finish this fight early because I don't want to leave it in the hands of the judges.
Aldo was feeling better than ever heading into the fight, and he too was predicting a knockout.
If it's up to me, it's going to be a lot of back and forth, you know, like I've been saying, nobody's watching my training, nobody knows what I've done this camp. It was my best camp, my speed, my power, everything. So if it's not fight of the night, it's going to be knockout of the night.
Once the cage door closed, Aldo went toe-to-toe with Yan as they traded shots in the first 3 rounds, but Yan's pressure and intensity ultimately got the better of Aldo, who was stopped at 3 minutes and 24 seconds of the 5th round. Yan still had nothing but respect for Aldo.
The fight was very tough and nothing but respect for the Aldo. He did great.
Call it karma if you may, because back in the day, Jose Aldo beat some big names like Frankie Edgar, who quickly found out that changing weight classes doesn't always fix your problems. Frankie Edgar was a legit lightweight champ until he lost his belt to Benson Henderson in 2011. He tried to win it back the next year but came up short. Instead of climbing back up the ladder, he dropped down to featherweight and went straight after Jose Aldo for the belt at UFC 156 without any warm-up fights.
Is there any part of you that thought, well, maybe one fight at 145 first would have been good?
No, you know, I feel this is perfect. I didn't want to go fight a 3-round fight. I like preparing for a 5-round fight. It makes you train a little harder. It makes you be a little more dedicated. And you know, I feel like I'm just not skipping a beat. I'm just going right to my next fight, and it's not a title fight.
The fight was the classic striker vs grappler matchup. Aldo was known for shutting down takedowns, but Edgar believed he could still find a way to get him on the ground.
He's out of 55 takedowns, stopped 52. How do you find a way to implement your skill, your strategy to actually get him down and keep him down?
Yeah, you know, I just got to use my wrestling like I always have. You know, mix it up well between the striking and the wrestling, and keep him guessing.
On fight night, Aldo did what he does best. He struck Edgar with counters and low kicks to control the early rounds, and although Edgar did make a comeback in later rounds, it wasn't enough to get him the win or a second belt, as Aldo ended up winning by a unanimous decision.
Jose's a champion, and that's pretty much the bottom line. You know, I don't want to be talking about, do you think you won, and this and that, the score, the rounds. It doesn't matter. He left with the belt, and he's a champion deservingly.
Switching weight classes, especially moving down in weight, isn't always the best idea, and Vitor Belfort was made to learn that lesson, being on the receiving end of one of the scariest kicks in MMA history. Belfort won the UFC light heavyweight belt in 2004, but lost it right after. 5 years and a few promotions later, he came back to the UFC, knocked out Rich Franklin in the first round, and earned a shot at Anderson Silva's middleweight crown at UFC 126. Before the fight, Belfort said he was more ready than ever.
I'm there to fight, I'm gonna do my best, I'm 100%, I've never been so prepared for a fight. I'm perfect weight right now, and I train very hard, and we gotta wait and see. Buy pay-per-view, don't miss it.
Silva was going out there for nothing but a 5-star performance as well.
He's out there to put on, the best performance that he can, and that's what his goal is. Whether he has his main goal, like always, is to walk out of the octagon the same way he walked in one piece and go back to his family, that the belt is just a symbol.
On fight night, only one managed to back up his words, and it was Silva, who knocked Vitor out with one of the scariest front kicks in MMA history. These were 8 times UFC champions failed to become double champions. If you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel and check out some times where cocky UFC fighters got completely humbled by their opponents.